You either die a hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. We always see this quote come up when some of our favorite celebrities, icons, or creators simply take a turn for the worst. It's so hard to accept when the people that we look up to and inspire us take a drastic turn in character that honestly is just so hard to believe. And in the YouTube space, there's really no one else that I can think of that fits this better than iDubbbz. iDubbbz is, or should I say was, an internet legend, posting some of the funniest and most creative commentary videos on this platform. He helped pioneer a new style of YouTube videos that established him as a legend, and in doing so he built up one of the most hardcore fan bases ever, but he lost it all when he couldn't beat his biggest enemy, himself. When iDubbbz switched his content to be more mature, he lost a lot of his fans not because he changed, but because he changed for the worse. He started shaming his fans, deleting all of the fan favorite videos, and making much less quality content. As a result, he lost nearly 1 million subs and lost over $200,000 for a charity event. And one last attempt to try and revive his career, he brought back the Content Cop series, only for it to be his most hated video yet. He's lost even more subscribers and even more fans than he already lost, and had to back out of Creator Clash 3 due to the controversy. How did iDubbbz become such a legend with the potential to be one of the best YouTubers ever, only to ruin it? Let's cut the bullshit and get right into it. Now, initially iDubbbz, aka Ian, started doing YouTube the same way that almost any successful YouTuber did, as a hobby. He started off with some very simple gameplay videos. Nothing fancy, just very simple stuff.
Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. This is where I post gameplay videos featuring awesome indie games like Overgrowth.
It would be over time where Ian developed a very small fanbase and would actually make some money off of these very simple videos. It wasn't much, maybe a couple hundred, maybe even a couple thousand if it was a really good month. It wasn't enough to become a full-time job, but he figured if he really focused on this, he would have enough money to pay rent and food. And so he started to put out more and more videos during his time at college. By the time that he got his degree in business management, he was able to make this his full-time job, despite his parents encouraging him to get a more regular job. But to really stand out as a YouTuber, Ian decided to step away from the video game content and really delve more into commentary and comedy. And this would begin with his series Kickstarter Crap, which was a very big success. Ian would find really dumb products on Kickstarter and basically just make fun of them.
I implemented the weight system at the base, so the egg is able to stand on its own. Look at it. It's adorable.
If I ever think that an egg rolling around on a table is adorable, put a bullet in my head. Put a fucking bullet in my head, please.
This worked really well because the products that Ian showed were just so stupid that no one thought they were real, and Ian's roasts were absolutely hilarious. These videos would get him quite a lot of views, but would also get him into some pretty big drama. One of the people that he actually roasted decided to shoot back at him. It all started when Ian made fun of the Kickstarter product Self-Made Entrepreneurs. I think it's some type of mentorship program. I honestly don't really know.
Today's project is so fucking bad that it has a negative amount of backers and a negative amount of dollars funded so far. I don't know how this is fucking possible, that a project could be so bad that they take money away from you and take backers away from you, but it seems to be the case.
The owner of this product did not like Ian's video very much and decided to make a response to him. Ian would actually make his own video throwing insults right back at the guy.
Self-made entrepreneurs. This represents every person that's being their own person, treating their lives as a business, as an entity.
Graphene, why do you have so many jump cuts? Just stop. Just stop it. Just speak your mind and let it flow. Let it flow onto the camera. Just don't jump cut around. You may stumble, you mumble, you fumble, you quumble, you lumble. Shit, I almost started rapping. Sorry about that, guys.
This video went extremely viral, getting over 10 million views, and it was the moment that Ian realized that not only does comedy do well, but drama does even better. And this theme of drama would reoccur non-stop all throughout Ian's career. Now, over time, Ian did continue with the Kickstarter Crap series, and it did really well. Each video was getting more and more views than the last. But he would start a new series that took things to a different level: bad unboxing. Now, this would start off with Ian just unboxing random shit and just goofing around. This was kind of a way of Ian basically making fun of like unboxing videos that would like review the products.
You have to be so controlled when opening this thing, otherwise your shit is gonna get wrecked. Let's pretend like we're a child for a half a second, right? Alright, here we go, I'm gonna open it. Oh, it's fucking spilled. It's fucking spilled.
This would turn into him reviewing various subscription boxes that also were very popular at the time. But then this series really took off when he started to unbox fan mail. He opened up a P.O. box and fans would send him the most ridiculous shit possible. Sex toys, suspicious foods, random objects.
This is kinda cool if this is legit. Live harvester ants. Open immediately. You see, the problem with this, right, is they're fucking dead. But let's find out how dead. Oh yeah, really dead.
What made Ian's video on this so different was because he basically was encouraging his fans to send him the wildest shit you can think of, which really was nothing like any other YouTuber did. And seeing him just mess around with all of this stuff was really funny. It was a very big change of pace to what every other YouTuber did and basically established him as almost this kind of like anti-YouTuber. He was basically making fun of the traditional YouTube format. This type of fan interaction really helped iDubbbz develop a core loyal fan base. By the end of 2015, Ian had gained over 200,000 subscribers, which is pretty nice. But it was December of that year that he striked gold. Ian would develop one of the most iconic YouTube series ever, Content Cop. This was a series where he basically made fun of YouTubers and their content. This was around the time when commentary channels were becoming a very, very big thing. Guys like Leafy, Codico, Pyrocynical, they were all dominating the YouTube space. But what made this series so special was not just the hilarious roast that Ian would have in the videos. It was the entire layout that made this show so good. He would start it off with this skit that had his traditional theme song, and throughout the video he would do these hilarious and well-performed sketches. It wasn't like with other YouTubers where they would just deliver their jokes over some gameplay videos or have some fancy editing to exaggerate their jokes. iDubbbz spared no effort to make these videos as theatrical as possible. Even though there's only 14 episodes in total, including the latest one which we will get into, this show was the pure definition of quality over quantity.
Hey there folks, I'm the Content Cop. I'm here to make sure everyone's content is up to par, and if it's not, I'll bring them to justice.
On average, these dropped every 2 months, even though the schedule was very sporadic. But the series was iconic for being a career-ending show. If you had one of these made on you, you were kind of fucked. And nothing really showcased this more than the first episode where he made it on Jinx. Now, back in the day, one of the most popular and hated subgenres of YouTube was reaction videos. Nowadays, reaction videos are popular and not as cringed upon because a lot of content creators really put effort into their reactions to actually add something to the video. But back in the day, there were a lot of YouTubers who actually gained a pretty big following for just simply watching videos that were in the corner of a screen. And this was kind of annoying because they were basically being seen as content thieves. The main face of this entire subgenre hate was Jinx. Jinx already had tons of hate videos being made on him, but where iDubbbz stood out was basically by making a very creative video that mocked him and his content directly, showing just how unoriginal he really is.
I literally came through and reacted to anything. It didn't matter. Viral videos, trailers, games.
Oh damn, we finally figure out how he outdid everyone. Is because he stole the content from everywhere. It didn't matter. He stole it from the Vine compilations, Try Not to Laugh Vine compilations, Your Grammar Sucks, Markiplier Cries on Camera.
It was the presentation that made the video so unique, and it got over 19 million views and gave Ian over 120,000 subscribers. This video caused a very big back and forth between Ian and Jinx, with Jinx even making his own video on iDubbbz. They went back and forth on Twitter to the point where iDubbbz actually challenged Jinx to boxing and he accepted. And this event actually was going to happen at one point until Jinx canceled.
Hey, what's going on, Celebrity Boxing? What's that? You say that Jinx pussied out of the fight? You scared of me? You scared of fighting me? Oh, I'm so sad to hear that, because I really wanted to fight him badly.
Why he backed out, no idea, but it simply just made him more of a laughingstock. And eventually Jinx's career would basically speak for itself. He tried to move away from reaction videos and tried to make more gameplay videos and skits, but that was very unsuccessful. 2 years later, when that didn't work, he tried to go back into reaction videos, but that failed horrendously. This also was around the time when copywriting was become more of a thing, so Jinx's videos and his style was not really working anymore. Where he is now, no one knows, and it basically proved Ian was right. And while not every single Content Cop episode was a direct cause for a career ending, it definitely predicted a lot of the inevitable fates for what he was talking about. Like the one where he talked about food review channels. This video basically just made fun of very lazy and poorly made food reviews that were done. And this episode really upped the notch with the skits.
BK, let's peep this out. Just how Gouda is the latest from Wendy's? Let's peep this out. Arby's is kicking it up fajita style? Let's peep this out.
No one's on the edge of their seat saying, oh, I can't wait to see Ian K's fast food review. It's like, no one gives a shit. So you gotta create suspense. If you don't have a crazy personality, if you don't have mad jokes, you gotta create suspense some other way. Arby's serving breakfast all day? Let's peep this out. It has all sorts of good, it has fish in it, and it...
It wasn't directed at like a specific channel, but a lot of the ones that he did talk about are not really that relevant anymore, which showed that he was right. Now, food reviews are still pretty big, specifically on TikTok, but the ones that do stand out are the ones with personality, like Keith Lee. Now, one of the videos that was definitely pretty ahead of its time in terms of criticism was the Kids Toy Channel video. This video basically made fun of all the kids who were being spoiled by their parents to make all of these toy reviews and everything, and how they obviously faked their excitement. He specifically talks about Ryan's World and how all of his videos are clearly scripted.
I do feel bad for a lot of the kids because in many cases they just follow the orders of the parents. They have some weird loose script that they go with, and the mom says, say that you're excited, and then pull out the toy. You can tell in these series of clips that I'm about to show you that it goes from, hey, I'm excited, to, I want to fucking kill myself.
I wonder what's next, I'm so excited! What toy is next? I'm so excited. I wonder what's inside, I'm so excited.
Ryan's World is easily one of the most infamous toy review channels. His parents have been constantly accused of milking their own child for money, and his mom also has a pretty suspicious past. Ryan is now quite literally a teenager, and he still does these videos for money, even going so far as to make a movie, which a lot of YouTubers have pointed out.
Because there's something so unsettling about seeing this kid who is now entering puberty and is starting to experience everything that comes with it. You know, insecurity, pressure to fit in, developing an identity crisis until your mid-20s, yet already has the eye bags of a 50-year-old who has been hate working their corporate job for the past 9 years.
iDubbbz was really one of the first people to notice this and call it out, at least from what I remember. But the second one that he did on toy review channels was actually pretty ahead of its time too. In this video, Ian talked about how there's such a weird variation of people who dress up in superhero videos and make all of these very strange kids videos.
If you haven't come across any of these superhero videos on YouTube, consider yourself lucky, because they all play the same way. It's a silent film featuring grossly out of shape superhero and a pregnant Elsa.
The exact thing that iDubbbz actually talked about would be known as Elsagate, which was a huge scandal. Now, in case you guys don't know, Elsagate was basically this scandal where a lot of these kid-friendly YouTube channels are being accused of having a lot of sexual innuendo themes. It caused a lot of commotion as to what was and wasn't kid-friendly on YouTube, and eventually a lot of ginormous channels like the ones that Ian talked about would get banned. Even the videos where Ian is just simply ranting about certain types of creators aged very well. Like the video where Ian talked about the Fine Brothers, and if you're not of legal voting age, then you probably do not know who those guys are. Now, the Fine Brothers were one of the very first people who actually created reaction videos. They would get certain groups of like kids, teenagers, or old people to react to certain types of content or videos, and over the years they built a giant following over it with millions and millions of subscribers. But then they got a shit ton of backlash after they tried to trademark the word react, like as if they owned the art of reacting to something on camera, which they didn't.
I wait a few days and everyone's making Fine Bros videos. Fuck the Fine Brothers. Fine Brothers? More like Revenue Brothers. Revenue Brothers? More like money-grubbing Jews. Money-grubbing Jews end their fucking career. End their career. I say lynch them. Lynch those brothers.
iDubbbz was pretty late to the hate train, but still made a very hilarious video on it. To this day, the original Fine Bros channel is a complete graveyard, and the founders have completely ditched the project. There was another Content Cop episode where he made fun of the channel How to Prank It Up. How to Prank It Up was a guy who basically showed you how to make your own pranks at home to use on people. iDubbbz made fun of how extremely silly these ideas were and how they just were extremely unbelievable.
Drop in some food coloring. Now we have to seal the Freezy Pops. I'm taking a lighter, very tippy top. So let's cut it open and see if our teeth turn blue. Oh yeah. Oh! It already worked on 2 bites!
Yeah, that is so unlike a normal freeze pop. I don't eat those things and have a blue tongue afterward ever. So when you had a blue tongue, I was like, whoa! That's a good prank.
This video also aged pretty well because to this day, How to Prank It Up has extremely low views, and it's basically a dead channel. Now, it's pretty unlikely that Content Cop was a direct cause for this, but he basically predicted the inevitable. It's actually pretty funny how Ian unintentionally predicts a lot of the strategies that YouTubers use today. Like the one where he made fun of tech destruction channels like Tech Racks. He basically said that for one video, Tech Racks only got a shit ton of views because he basically made a giant pool of Coke. The soda, not the drug. And how it's a pretty easy way to get views by just simply having a giant amount of something.
That's a big waste of money.
There are a lot of YouTube videos that get a shit ton of views because they go the route of excess. They'll use a shit ton of Orbeez in a pool. They'll fill a pool with Coke in the case of Tech Racks, or slime, or dry ice, or whatever. The reason I bring this up is because it speaks to the mindset that a lot of these channels have. They know that if you empty 1,500 gallons of pig's blood into a pool, that's enough to get views. You actually don't even have to do anymore. You don't actually have to even go in the pool and dance around in it or play Marco Polo.
Which is pretty funny because that's the strategy that big creators like MrBeast and tons of copycats use today. And that guy is like the biggest thing on YouTube. From 2016 to 2017, iDubbbz was a giant staple in the commentary community. From all of these series, he had a giant fandom. iDubbbz didn't really post as often as other YouTubers did who usually would do it every single day because that's what the algorithm catered to. But Ian's videos focused more on quality over quantity, so every single time he posted, his audience knew that it was going to be a smash hit. And as he grew, he started to hang out with a lot of other big creators very similar to him, like Max Mofo and Filthy Frank. Together, these guys would collaborate on a ton of videos together, like on skits and vlogs, and overall just make a ton of appearances on each other's content. Soon enough, these three became a staple trio in the edgy YouTube community. A lot of their followers went to Ian and vice versa, which really helped their fandom. Some of Ian's most iconic and memeable moments came from the stuff that he filmed with Frank and Max Mofo. There was a time where iDubbbz basically had the Midas touch where almost any random shit he say would just automatically become a meme.
Jump down, and then say some fucking gay shit.
I'm gay. I have crippling depression. Hey, that's pretty good.
These moments just became giant jokes within the iDubbbz community that really helped more and more with that loyal fandom. But what really would cement iDubbbz as a legend was some of the videos that he made at specific creators. Now, the first victim of this easily was Jinx, but that wasn't nearly as memorable as the other ones that he made going down the road. The second victim of this was Keemstar, the host of Drama Alert, which is basically a news source for anything drama related in the YouTube community, or in social media in general. Every single meaningless slop scandal is covered by this guy. Like, everything. And Keemstar always had a very rocky reputation for his career. He was always getting into controversy after controversy, which really isn't that surprising when you see just what exactly he does for content. In this video, iDubbbz basically roasted the shit out of him, calling him oversensitive to criticism, acting hypocritical, and just doing his usual thing but on a much more effortful level.
There are plenty of other things to insult the rat for. He's manipulative, cunty, hypocritical, makes horrible content, extremely unfunny, cringy. It's kind of like picking on Tommy NC, really. It's kind of like picking on an autistic kid. Wouldn't you agree, Keemstar?
The reason why the autistic kid, tell the autistic kid that I'm bullying him, you told an autistic dude. You took advantage of an autistic kid. You took advantage of an autistic kid, and you took advantage of an autistic kid.
This wasn't like the other ones where iDubbbz wasn't trying to start beef or be personal. With this one, he was trying to start a fucking war. He even went so far as to make an entire song parodied for All-Star.
You're a Keemstar, do a trick shot, MLG, hey now. You're a Keemstar, eat your popcorn, go tea and all.
This definitely helped change the public on Keemstar as toxic and immature, even though he was kind of already slowly doing that to himself. And to this day, that is the reputation that he has.
Look, the iDubbbz Keemstar thing is funny, right? You know, there's a bunch of clips of me being a complete asshole, right? And that's part of the gimmick, right? That's part of who I am online. So it's a good video. I don't see anything wrong with it.
But didn't necessarily ruin Keemstar's channel. View-wise, he was still pretty good after this video dropped. Last year, his channel did take a downward toll, but that's only because he stopped posting, not because people didn't like his videos anymore. It was more of these very personal and specific episodes of Content Cop where Ian really shined. And nothing proved that more when he dropped the magnum opus of his career, the Leafy Content Cop. This was a legendary video, and if you were around to remember when this dropped, then you know exactly exactly where you were and what time it happened. Leafy was one of the most popular commentary channels and had an insanely large fan base. At one point, he nearly broke 5 million subscribers. He posted reaction, commentary / roast videos that basically were recorded over gameplay videos, and he did help popularize that specific style of commentary videos. It was basically like the Subway Surfers clip hack back in the day. Leafy had a very strong fan base, but also was criticized for being a cyberbully back in the day. Leafy has beefed with endless creators, but no one really put him in his place like iDubbbz did. iDubbbz did a lot of things like roasting his content, calling him unfunny, etc.
As you can probably tell, I can hardly contain myself right now, because today is the day we get to bully Leafy.
But the main thing that really made this video bang was how Ian basically called out Leafy for being a cyberbully while instantly being insecure himself, and he really showed that off by making fun of his chin. He really dragged this on by comparing him to cartoon characters that had no chin while also showing a bunch of pictures of him clearly trying to hide it.
I want to bring your attention to this picture. This is a picture of Leafy at the little meetup, and there's no filter here. This is him in his natural environment. Unfortunately, a profile shot. If you look at anyone with a weak chin, their enemy is the profile shot. It ruins them. But I want to show you this video in his natural environment and show you really how timid the poor guy is.
Do you know who this is?
That's Leafy is queer, bro.
This is the boy himself.
You kind of have to feel bad for Leafy at this moment, because not only is his chin open to the public, but he has this fat piece of shit touching on him.
The icing on the cake was when he literally put up missing posters for Leafy's missing chin, and made like his own Leafy Carnival version of Pin the Tail on the Donkey. This was easily some of the top tier roasts and skits of the entire series. It was his highest performing video at the time and sparked one of the most famous YouTube beefs in history. Leafy would respond, but in doing so he walked right into Ian's trap. He tried to roast him back by making fun of his receding hairline, which was a pretty lame attempt at trying to play at Ian's own game. iDubbbz would even make his first ever concept deputy where he was basically just shooting a dead corpse.
I found this on Twitter a few days ago, and it's so true that it's scary. First, Calvin starts by bullying someone.
This motherfucker right here rapes people with that hat on.
Then causes some YouTube drama.
Fucking 30 years old. We got a 30-year-old man.
His shitty behavior backfires.
Perfect.
And then what does he do? He plays victim.
This is all at the same time of getting non-stop comments like this. Of course, this pussy is ignoring the drama.
The Content Cop easily destroyed Leafy's reputation overnight. The chin thing became a giant meme that was even outside of YouTube for a little bit. However, Leafy was still getting views, the respect just wasn't really as there anymore. This is basically like the YouTube version of Kendrick versus Drake. Because just like with Leafy, Drake did lose a lot of his respect and reputation, but he was still doing a lot of numbers. Like his latest album literally did almost 300,000 copies its first week. You see what I'm saying? And Leafy's career would eventually end for almost the exact same reasons that iDubbbz listed out. It was 3 years later when Leafy's channel got permanently banned because of cyberbullying, which again is what iDubbbz predicted. Where Leafy now is kind of like unknown. He also got banned off of Twitter, and it seems like he's trying to stream right now, but I don't really know much about that. There's recent pictures of him on his Instagram where he just looks immensely out of shape. Like really bad. In the grand scheme of things, this video did age pretty well and establish Ian as someone not to fuck with. And it seemed like there was no way he was going to top this, but he did with the Tana Mongeau episode. Now, this is maybe the first ever episode that was actually started in retaliation to something that someone else started first. Ian's beef with Tana started when she called him out on Twitter for saying the N-word, but she also had instances of saying it herself in leaked videos. This inspired iDubbbz to make a video on her. In the video, he starts off by making fun of her clickbait storytime videos, and then also calls her a hypocrite for using the word.
But when you're reading it, even if you're just saying it, even if you're reading something that somebody else says, you're saying, I'm a white person and I think it's okay to say that word.
It doesn't matter the context that you say it in, it's still racist.
It doesn't matter the context you say it in, it's still racist. Listen up, teachers of America. If you've ever read aloud Huckleberry Finn to your students, you've engaged in an act of racism.
The supporters call themselves N-word faggots. Like, that's what they call each other. Faggots, faggots, faggots.
Whoa, Tana, you're gonna drop the F-bomb like that? Listen, Tana, it doesn't matter the context you use it in. it's still homophobic.
Ian takes trolling to an entirely new level with this one, as he literally goes all the way to TanaCon, goes and takes a picture with her, and then says the N-word right next to her. And Tana would fall for the bait by making a very exaggerated storytime video on this.
He kind of like locks his arm around me, like around my neck like this, and it wasn't like it was like a chokehold or anything. It was very like firm and like tight, like I couldn't have really gotten it out, if that makes sense. I'll explain that in a second. And so the guy looks at me and he wraps his arm around me and he looks in the camera and he goes, say, and puts his thumbs up and then like blank, and he says the N-word, like hard R, N-word, like say N-word, like hard R, like smiling, loud as fuck, like yells it, and like looks at me and looks into the camera. Like,
but it seemed like she did not know that it was actually iDubbbz who actually did that. She basically talked about it before the Content Cop video even ever dropped. But when the Content Cop episode did drop, it got over 34 million views. Tana would make an apology video, but it was not well received. But in the long run, her career overall was pretty unaffected. She did sustain an overall negative reputation, but that's because a lot of her comedy was very drama oriented, so it kind of just naturally tends to happen. She dropped music, hosted a successful podcast, and even went on tour. In 2024, she actually gained a lot of sympathy online after she revealed that Cody Ko had his way with her when she was underage. So career-wise, she was fine overall, but during that time, wasn't so fine. The last Content Cop would easily be Ian's best performing one in ways that no one could ever have imagined. The last Content Cop will be titled as aimed towards Jake Paul, which many fans would have predicted and have loved to see. Jake Paul had a pretty similar reputation that he has right now as being a reckless, cocky douchebag, but this video was intentionally misleading as Jake Paul was not the subject of the video. It actually was Ricegum. Ricegum was another YouTuber who was pretty controversial in his own right. He was pretty obnoxious and also had a ton of controversy, like making pretty messed up jokes to an R-word victim. He promoted gambling to kids and overall just seemed like a pretty toxic person.
I told this dude no, I don't want it, and then like I was like drunk, and then yeah, and so that's why I don't really count that. But
what, he raped you? No, but did it feel good though?
No, I didn't.
iDubbbz made a very in-depth video dissecting all of Ricegum's sins and inserting his usual skits. He even included an entire song that he made with the YouTuber Boy in a Band, who was pretty responsible for a lot of hits that he did with other YouTubers. The segment even included appearances from H3H3 and PewDiePie. They would even officially release the song titled as Asian Jake Paul and even peaked number 24 on the Billboard's US and hip hop chart, which is pretty insane for a YouTuber song. This was quite literally his biggest video ever, breaking the 50 million view mark. And just like all the other victims, Ricegum tried to make his own response video with a song included, but they were received pretty horribly. Just like the others, Ricegum's reputation took a giant hit. But what ended his career was himself, because around 2020 he just stopped posting on YouTube, but kind of just seemed like no reason. He did make a comeback in 2024 as a streamer, but he signed an exclusive deal to Rumble, and Rumble is the place that people only go when they're banned from everything else, so that didn't really work very well. At its highest popularity and peak performance, Ian completely ditched Content Cop. And while fans were usually used to waiting a long time for these videos, by the time that it had been over a year since the last Content Cop, the fans just gave up hope. So what happened? Well, a little bit after the Ricegum video, two things happened. YouTube changed and iDubbbz changed. Around the time iDubbbz posted this video, YouTube was completely changing its policy. They were demonetizing content that wasn't so brand friendly. So a lot of the YouTubers like iDubbbz were not really able to make that much money off of their edgy content anymore. Before that, almost anyone was able to make their money off content. As long as there was no nudity or didn't have any copyright songs, it was completely fine. But that was just no longer the case. Many channels were affected by this in the negative way, including him. A lot of the Content Cop episodes, including the Leafy one, got removed because of the strikes. YouTube's decision basically marked the end of an era, but kind of in a good way. Over the years, a lot of Ian's extremely edgy content, like where he used slurs, did not age very well. As the fans got older, including myself, we just didn't really find that funny anymore. And clearly, Ian did not really seem to like it himself either. After the last Content Cop, Ian started to noticeably upload a lot less on his channel, averaging maybe 1 or 2 posts a month. He still did some of his usual series like Bad Unboxing, Kickstarter Crap, and even did a new series called iDubbbz Complains, where he basically just rants about, well, anything. But his style over the years was getting a little bit less and less creative. However, it was in 2019 where he dropped probably one of his best videos ever, Full Force. This was an hour-long video on the creator Airsoft Fatty. 2020. Real name Chris, he was a YouTuber who went pretty viral for various videos like drinking the Fortnite shield in real life. Ian went directly to his home to interview him, his friends, and his family. And a couple years ago, maybe it seemed like Ian was going to secretly make fun of him or something, but that was not the case with this video at all. This was a very interesting and well-made documentary, simply just showing the lifestyle of this creator that no one really expected to be so interesting. This was nothing like Ian's previous videos. It had a lot of effort, some very quality storytelling, and it really focused on this kid's life. iDubbbz really showcased his storytelling abilities in this video. It got over 20 million views, and many would say it's probably the best thing he ever made, including me. iDubbbz did not say it directly, but it was very obvious that he was trying to go into a more mature direction. He did a very similar thing on the creator Dax Flame, who was also a very well-known creator online. Just like the last video, this also did a very good job at showing the life behind the camera. By this time, Ian had basically ditched almost every single series that made him famous and was now going into other different styles. Some of them that are still pretty silly though. The content and tone was different, but Ian was still pretty invincible. That was until 2020. Now a couple years earlier, Ian started dating fellow content creator Anissa Jamha. She's had a little bit of controversy here and there, but she was mostly known as iDubbbz's girlfriend. In March of 2020, she officially announced that she was going to be launching an OF. This caused quite a lot of backlash and jokes from iDubbbz's fanbase, as he was now being deemed a simp. Now if you guys have watched my content, you would know why I don't really agree with that type of stuff usually. Specifically if you watched my video on why all of those prawn stars were dying. Not because I think it's bad per se, but there is a correlation between people who get involved in that type of industry who have a lot of mental problems, substance issues, and self-harm issues. There's also a lot of shady industry people who try to ring in young girls like Jack Doherty, and it's also resulted in lots of sex trafficking. But aside from that, if it is marketed in an ethical way, then there really is no issue with it, at least in my opinion. But in this situation, it definitely was not a big deal at all and didn't really need to be that serious, but iDubbbz made it to be pretty serious. He made a whole video talking about the issue in his iDubbbz Complaint series on sex workers. He defends sex workers as a whole and goes directly at the fans who were criticizing him for supporting his wife.
A good amount of people are just doing the reasonable thing and just making jokes and laughing about it. But there's a whole nother group of people who feel personally devastated and betrayed. You lied to us. First of all, I'm not your fucking dad. Like, if you don't want to look up to me anymore, that's fine. I don't want you to look up to me.
Now, Ian does make some good points as to why it's not a big deal, but over the years, iDubbbz attracted an audience of edgy young boys who really were not supportive of stuff like that. So even in making good points, it didn't really matter because iDubbbz's audience was not gonna like that, despite the majority not really giving two shits. But the other main problem with this video was the fact that Ian made fun of people who liked his previous content, kinda calling them silly for thinking that it was cool to like Content Cop.
Do you think it was cool when I was playing with anal beads? It's cool when I play with anal beads. Do you think it was cool when I was running around in an oversized cop outfit? That was cool to you.
And while it's okay to simply not love the content you made years ago, demeaning your audience for liking it is a different level because it's very disrespectful. And this was the point where iDubbbz's reputation no longer became invincible. And what's kind of dumb is that this probably wouldn't have gotten any backlash if iDubbbz himself did not really make an entire big deal out of it. It probably would have just been forgotten already. But the video got over 6 million views, so he was kind of doing it to himself in a way. It was after this that he started to lose subscribers and would post less and less frequently. This also did come from the fact that he wasn't being as consistent as he usually did, but little did Ian know that something from his past was going to kick him right back in the ass. Now when iDubbbz initially made his Content Cop on Ricegum actually challenged Ian to box him.
You really do, and the only person I could really think of, and I don't hate him, you know what I mean, at all, but I mean, he did drop like a 30-minute vid on me and just has a lot to say about me, and I feel like it would be really, really interesting if me and iDubbbz were to box. I think it would be interesting. And I've asked him like through Twitter, he just ignored me, and then I asked some of his boys that I follow, like Max, and just some of his boys, and they were just like, yeah, he probably isn't interested.
But it never went through. So he DM'd iDubbbz's girlfriend to challenge him to box. Little did he know, iDubbbz actually would take the offer, but Ricegum backed out, saying that it was way too late for that. Ian would even post an entire video calling out Ricegum, trying to get him to come forward and box him.
I find a guy who can set up a bomb-ass event. The boxing promoter and I reach out to Ricegum and we say, we're ready. We're ready to set up this event. And what does Ricegum do? He ghosts the boxing promoter repeatedly. He ghosts me repeatedly. And then when I finally am able to contact him, he says things like, oh, my neck is sore. Okay, what?
from playing Fortnite? Why is your neck sore? And why do I give a shit if your neck is sore?
But this didn't work. But Ian still liked the boxing idea, so he actually would try and get someone else to fight him. Eventually, he did, and this basically would inspire an entire charity boxing event called Creator Clash. This was another crossover influencer boxing event. Unlike the other influencer boxing events that had very athletic creators, this event was catered around to the idea of having very unathletic creators box. You were getting people like the odd ones out, Michael Reeves, Graham Stephen, people that were not big fighters but were willing to get in the ring, which honestly sounds pretty hilarious and cool when you really think about it. And for iDubbbz, this was a very unexpected thing to do. He was going to heavily challenge himself mentally and physically for a giant event that was all for charity. It did signal huge growth, and in terms of results, it paid off. The event sold 100,000 pay-per-views and made over $1 million for charity, which is pretty awesome, but the event was completely overshadowed with drama, specifically drama with Sam Hyde. Now, Sam Hyde is a comedian that a lot of people actually would refer to as legendary. He was an OG of YouTube, posting all the way back in 2009 with his comedy group. His sketches and bits always had this very unique style of being ironic. Tons of his videos have been viral over the years. Looking at his style, it's pretty obvious that he was a comedic inspiration for iDubbbz. At one point, he even had his own show on Adult Swim, $1 Million Extreme Presents World Peace, which basically was a TV version of these skits. They had a big following and even had 1 million views for the premiere. The founder of Adult Swim thought that this was going to be the next Tim and Eric, but it was canceled after just 6 episodes. There was a lot of speculation that it was because Sam Hyde supported Donald Trump, and back then that was pretty controversial. Sam said that the show had a secret signal to the KKK, which is usually where a lot of my YouTube ad revenue comes from. These are the type of things that Sam casually says all the time, which makes you question if he's being serious or not, because he'll say shit like this to the Washington Post, which is like, you know, a very legit news source, and he'll also do wild stuff like casually donate $5,000 to a neo-Nazi website. This type of shit got Sam blacklisted from Hollywood, but he still had a very loyal fanbase that would follow him wherever he went. But in doing so, he also still would get banned from platforms like YouTube and Twitter pretty frequently, which made it hard for Sam to post stuff for his fans. For a couple years after the show got canceled, he was basically a mystery until 2022. iDubbbz planned to make the 3rd installment of his documentary series on Sam, going all the way to Rhode Island to film it. They already filmed the entire project, but for 9 months, nothing came about it. Sam reached out to Ian multiple times to try and get an update, but nothing. The problem was Sam spent $15,000 of his own money and 2 weeks of his time to focus on this project, so he kind of wanted to make some of that back in some type of way. So he figured if iDubbbz wasn't going to post a doc, well, he was just going to post his own. The title makes you think it's a hit piece, but it's actually the opposite of that. Sam was just simply putting the footage to use.
iDubbbz came out, he shot a documentary with me and Nick and the crew here, and I think I probably blew it personally with him, and it's through no fault of his, whatever. I sent him it doesn't even matter. I think I probably Fantano, and I think I bothered him too much. Something like that. I wasn't like an asshole or anything, but I think I probably just texted him too many times.
For the doc, Sam basically had this plan to troll Ian by renting out this dentist's office to make it seem like it was his office. And he got a bunch of his friends to pretend to be these crypto rappers and try to get Ian to try lean. He even went so far as to pay this girl to pretend to be his cracked out girlfriend.
Have like really large I don't know, have you like weighed your head?
I have not weighed my head, no.
You like, well, I haven't like weighed my head without the fluid in it for like a while.
I like your shoes.
Thanks.
It's like mostly traditional.
Nah, it looks like shit!
I'm not a tattoo connoisseur, so I wouldn't know.
I'm gonna check all that.
And this was pretty funny, and it's right up Ian's speed in terms of humor. However, Ian clearly came with the intentions of making something that was more serious. Sam heavily suspected that iDubbbz was making a hit piece on him, and iDubbbz brings up the fact that Sam copyright striked one of his Kickstarter Crap videos.
Why did you choose to make a documentary of me?
Do you remember our first interaction?
No.
You don't?
No.
You remember making a pony game?
Yes.
Okay. There were some creators at the time who made videos about this fake pony project.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Were you one of them?
I was one of them. You copyright claimed the video.
Really?
Yes. And then you sent me an email. The email was, I will release the copyright claim on your video if you can send me a video of yourself squatting 200 pounds below parallel. That's what led to this day today.
Throughout the interview, iDubbbz tries to talk about Sam's ironic tone, trying to make the point that maybe that these types of jokes should have a very obvious punchline and meaning, rather than just saying this stuff with a very vague interpretation.
People who want to enjoy your content kind of struggle with is they don't feel like they have permission to laugh at certain things because you haven't given them like enough context at the beginning to indicate like, oh, this is all just like a gag that I'm doing or something like that.
Is it valid for me to just not care about that? Like, do I have to be like scrutinizing my words and be like, oh, maybe I could get more views if I really explained what I meant when I said cum dumpster? Like, can I not give a fuck about that at all?
I mean, obviously you can.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah.
This whole thing felt very uncomfortable, and it kind of just seemed like Ian was trying to make a critical video about Sam while trying to distance himself personally away from that type of humor. But a month after Sam's video, Ian would actually drop his own video answering all of the questions, getting away with it. Now, this documentary had the same exact quality and style of Ian's previous docs. He stated personally that it was not a hit piece in any way, and he wasn't trying to press him about the copyright strike.
Yeah, the video is not meant to be a hit piece. I didn't set out to do that. I was like, no one's made like a documentary, or at least a good documentary about MDE or Sam Hyde. So like, this is a great opportunity. So of course I'm gonna rack my autistic brain to figure out, okay, what things do Sam and I have in common? Well, we interacted however many years ago. Maybe that's something I could bring up in the interview.
But the doc did leave more questions than answers specifically about Sam. Ian tries so hard to dissect the meaning of Sam's jokes, even though Sam clearly has no intention to explain the meaning whatsoever. Whether the intentions were good or not, there was very clearly some beef between the two because neither of them really seemed to get what they wanted out of this experience. A lot of people think that this video broke iDubbbz because not even he knows what the fuck just happened. And at this point, Ian made a complete rebrand of his content and channel. But at the end of the day, both fans still got pretty awesome content from both sides. This drama would settle down, but would be completely reignited during Creator Clash. Harley from Epic Mealtime was one of the main boxers. Sam wanted to be one of the fighters for a Creator Clash, but it just simply did not happen. So he participated by doing the next best thing, being a trainer for one of the fighters. Harley from Epic Mealtime was one of the fighters on the card, so Sam helped train him. Anissa stated that Sam was not allowed to be on the card because it would have been bad for sponsors.
He said Sam, and then Sam tweeted out basically like, you know, what his music would be as he came out or whatever. And I was getting really excited for that because, look, I understand that, you know, Sam might not be on brand, but as far as a show and entertainment, like, yes. You know, that's right.
Yeah, we would lose half the card though. Like, legit, actually, and all the sponsors.
Yeah, I can think of a ragtag group of people that, like, Sam could probably box with.
They even went so far as to ban Sam personally from the event after he bought front row tickets for over 11 grand. And he wasn't getting a refund for them. This caused a lot of news in the YouTube drama world, and it got a lot of backlash because it deemed iDubbbz as being very hypocritical. iDubbbz was a creator who was very successful as someone who was not brand friendly, yet now he was going to ban someone for not being brand friendly. Sam actually would do a separate boxing match for the company Happy Punch, and was on the card for a KSI boxing match. And as you know, KSI is basically the biggest YouTube boxer. So this basically goes to show that Ian was wrong about him not being brand friendly. Granted, the hype may have been caused a lot from this drama, but you get the gist. The event was successful, but this drama heavily stained that. Even though he did a great thing that was extremely great for charity, his own personal beefs got in the way. Even with the change in brand and the change in personality, iDubbbz just simply could not avoid the drama. And this would transfer over into Creator Clash 2. This was announced immediately after the first one's success. There were old fighters and new fighters on the card now, and this followed the same theme of non-athletic creators getting in the ring. But this event was doomed from the start. One of the fighters on the card was Froggy Fresh, a creator who made pre-comedic rap videos. He was much more popular back in the day, but people were still pretty hyped to see him box. But up to the fight, Froggy was getting more and more bold with the shit talking. The Happy Punch Twitter account would actually post Froggy training with Sam. Sam, which as you can tell is pretty awkward. Froggy went even so far as to say that if he didn't hurt his opponent, he would actually sub to Anissa's OF. And this all seemed good and fun, but 2 days later after he said this, he was completely removed from the boxing match. Creator Clash claims that he violated terms from the code of conduct, but they never really specified what it is that he did. This caused tons of outrage because it kind of just seemed like it was over the Sam posts and the jokes about Anissa. Even Penguin Zero himself expressed disappointment with it. All of the commentaries talked about this, and it just seemed really, really stupid. Froggy even claimed that he was being threatened with a lawsuit if he didn't return the $15,000 that was given to him to train, which just made things even worse. This event was getting tons of publicity, but for all the wrong reasons. It just pointed Ian further as a hypocrite because he simply just booted a fighter for a silly joke, when he himself made much worse versions of that. And he would make a video addressing the situation, saying that Froggy was kicked out because of his connections to Sam Hyde, which honestly was a little fair because at this point Sam Hyde was constantly non-stop talking shit about iDubbbz' wife. iDubbbz tried to get at least Froggy to meet him in the middle with this whole situation, but he refused, which is at least decently understandable.
If you look at my text exchange with Froggy, it's very clear that I didn't want to kick him from the card. I got to the point where I was like, okay, I don't want you working or training with Sam Hyde, but you're doing that, so alright, I'll look past it. I don't want you making content with Sam Hyde, but seems like that's a real deal breaker for you, so I guess I'll look past it. It came to the point where I was like, can you postpone releasing content with Sam Hyde?
Ian did claim that Ian was not going to be the subject of any lawsuit or anything like that. But regardless, this did not get good reception at all. Now, even with the drama, on the surface level, it seemed like this event went great. The stadium was packed and the event was very entertaining. But this event actually was a complete failure because it made them lose $250,000. Ian claims that it was a combination of bigger costs with lower sales. This Creator Clash had a bigger stadium, more broadcasting, and a bunch of other bigger costs as well. Everything in general was just way more expensive. However, only 50,000 pay-per-views were actually sold. Ian claims that 1.3 million people viewed this event, but a lot of it was pirated. But that's just the business logistics of it. Why did people not actually buy the tickets for this event? Well, the Froggy drama definitely played a part in it. This event mostly was deemed as an iDubbbz event, and since his reputation was down, a lot of people definitely did not want to buy the tickets for it. But one of the other major real issues here was really the lack of marketing and the people that they chose for the card. A lot of the names for this event were not recognizable at all. All of these creators were past their prime. iDubbbz was the most popular creator on this card and his reputation was pretty down. A lot of people, including me, didn't even know this event actually happened until after it was done. Ian's attempts to change were really starting to now take a toll on him. By this point, he felt like he actually needed to talk about it head on. He went on Anthony Padilla's channel to talk about how he honestly has grown a pretty strong distaste for his fans. He went on the H3H3 podcast to talk about how he didn't really like some of his previous content. Ultimately, he would rip off the band-aid with the video I Miss the Old iDubbbz, where he outright apologizes for the negative effect from his content. He holds himself accountable and also apologizes for harassing Tara, and also apologizes to certain groups for the slurs that he used.
I'm sorry to everyone that I made Content Cop videos on. I still don't like the majority of you, and that's fine, but I can recognize that you did not deserve the hate and harassment that I sent your way. I particularly want to apologize to Tana. Tana, I'm sorry. I should have never made that video. I harassed Tana in person and then harassed her online, and that's deplorable behavior. It's so stupid. I'm also sorry to all the black viewers and minority groups who had to put up with that video and put up with, you know, the phrases. I said either it's all okay or none of it's okay. And that's just so dangerous and stupid. I think only in these past couple of years have I gained the ability empathy. And I'm very ashamed to admit that. It sounds really pathetic to say at the age of 32, I've acquired empathy.
This video could definitely be deemed as overdue by some people as it took over 5 years to actually release this. This video got mixed reception, mostly positive but also negative. A lot of fans respected Ian for the fact that he was able to admit to wrongdoing. Even Tana herself liked the apology even though she felt like it wasn't necessary.
And maybe that's like dark, like to say, but like I don't feel like I'm owed an apology. And maybe that's because I've accepted it so much that like people always ask me, if you could go back in time and like make that never happen, like would you? And I always say no, because I feel like at the time, it was obviously...
But other core fans kind of disliked it for the same reason that they didn't really like the sex worker video. They weren't really such big fans of the change. And some people also felt like this probably was performative. Like he was only really doing it to appease to people, and he didn't really actually care that much about changing. After all, he was making $100K a month when he was doing the edgy content, but just happened to change around the time that YouTube was changing their policy. But it is likely that iDubbbz genuinely did want to change around that exact same time. I mean, the man was now in his 30s, he was married. And as a reformed edgelord myself, who was a giant iDubbbz fan, I honestly do really support his change. And I completely respect his decision. But unfortunately, this video would really signal the end of iDubbbz, but not in the way that you think. After this, Ian's views went down horrendously. Back in the day, a bad iDubbbz video would maybe get 4 million views, but now it wasn't even scraping a million. These aren't bad views in general, but for iDubbbz standards, that's horrible. And his sub count went from nearly 8 million to now going down all the way to 7 million. So what happened? A lot of people would argue that's because iDubbbz content was no longer edgy, but that's really not the case. It's not because of the fact that he changed, it's because he changed for the worst. The quality in his content just simply wasn't there. I mean, the documentaries are an amazing example of this because it proved that iDubbbz was able to make amazing videos without having to say slurs or harass people. It's his least edgy content yet, but it's his best performing. It's obvious that Ian was having a gigantic identity crisis, but just simply did not know where to focus his attention. Back then, iDubbbz had the purpose to create chaos, but now that purpose just doesn't really seem to be there for him, and he doesn't really know what to do. And it's so obvious in his videos that he's just completely lost a passion for it. The uploads just became less frequent, and he just became more forgotten. Out of the circle that he associated with from 2016 to 2017, iDubbbz easily has had the worst fall off. Filthy Frank turned into Joji, becoming a very successful musician, even headlining Madison Square Garden. Max Mofo and Anything for Views started their own channel, Cold Ones, which is very successful and has a massive fan base. They even have their own hard soda line. The most relevancy that iDubbbz had during this time was actually when he made an appearance on Cold Ones, which gave a lot of nostalgia for viewers. If I made this video a couple months ago, it honestly would have had more of the tone for feeling bad for iDubbbz, because I really did. In an effort to try and change and be more mature, he honestly just pissed off a lot of his audience and really lost a lot of the things that made him successful. Yes, he made horrible hypocritical mistakes, but it was good intention with really bad execution, and his charities had to suffer as a result from it. It's a shame that the videos where he talks about very serious topics only get a fraction of the views that they used to get. His toxic fans hate on his wife, he lost both fights, and he lost $250,000 of his own money for an event that was dedicated to charity. It's just genuinely sad. I didn't watch iDubbbz anymore because personally I just didn't really enjoy the content that much. But as a person, I was very proud of the maturity that he was at least attempting to display. And again, I would have felt bad for him if it wasn't for the fact that he made one of the most unexpected moves ever. On April 16th of 2025, iDubbbz dropped a Content Cop episode on H3H3 Productions. Now, for those that don't know, H3 aka Ethan Klein was also a commentary YouTuber who gave some pretty hilarious reactions, and also was a legend. He also had a diehard fanbase and frequently collabed with iDubbbz, as their content was pretty similar. In fact, some of their collabs are actually some of their most popular videos. To the fact that Ian made a whole video on H3 8 years later just seemed completely left field. A major reason for this was not just Ian's shift in character, but also Ethan's. You see, Ethan shifted away from more of the commentary videos more into a podcast format. This is where he talked about news, reactions, and all sorts of drama in the YouTube community. The whole podcast was literally just drama after drama, and it's actually what drove a lot of fans away, including me. But regardless, this podcast was still very popular and did attract an entirely new audience. Now, this whole thing started when Ethan actually would post on his main channel, which he rarely does, revealing that someone called Child Protective Services on him. They claim that Ethan was letting his child run around and eat dog feces. Now, it's not true that he lets his son do that, but a lot of the haters genuinely did believe this as factual. And at the time that this was announced, a lot of big creators, including the ones that hated on Ethan like Hassan, did speak out against this, claiming that it was totally inappropriate. This goes outside of YouTube drama because honestly, this is a terrible thing to do no matter what you believe. And there was no evidence evidence that Ethan was mistreating his child. Now, a lot of this was motivated by the fact that Ethan was a very big Israel supporter, and this caused him to get into a lot of feuds with pro-Palestine creators like Hassan. Ethan believed that it was the fans of the creators that he was beefing with that were behind this. But again, there is no proof. Ethan would even go so far as to call out iDubbbz for not speaking up about this after he supported him through thick and thin. Initially, Ian and Anissa addressed on their podcast that they were going to handle this matter privately and not really make a big spectacle out of it.
You know, we've tried to reach out to Ethan to talk privately. Basically, it just seems like we're at a bit of an impasse. So we want to stay out of the drama as much as possible. We don't want to pile on and add to anything. So this is our, you know, lukewarm addressing of it. It's, you know, we're always open to talk, privately, especially. And, yeah, we'll, you know, the door's always open.
Which was pretty respectable. But it all changed a week later when Ian would drop the hour-long Content Cop episode on Ethan. The news of this video dropping sent the internet into a frenzy. It got nearly 7 million views off the hype alone, but there was just one problem. It kind of fucking sucked. This didn't really feel like a Content Cop episode at all. It was really just iDubbbz simply airing out all of the drama between him and Ethan. iDubbbz claimed that Ethan was harassing him and trying to pressure him to speak up, but iDubbbz really shouldn't feel pressure to speak up because then he feels like the relationship between them is transactional. He claims that Ethan is a hypocrite and that he's being unfairly attacked for simply just associating with people that don't like Ethan, and overall claims that Ethan is crashing out and needs mental help.
I didn't plan on making a Content Cop on H3. Oh yeah, if I ever do that, it's gotta be because I lose the plot. Well, it turns out it's not me losing the plot, it's Ethan. He's the one who fucking attacked first.
iDubbbz even went so far as to visit a psychiatrist that gave Ethan's apology video an A+ and tried to get him to change the grade, which he didn't. There's no funny skits or creative criticism like in previous episodes at all. It's literally just 1 hour of pure drama stew. The best part about this really is the beginning, which is kind of sad because it's kind of cringe. Ian claims that Ethan is going after him simply for being friends with creators like Denim's TV, Frogan, and Sean DeBlack. And the thing is, these guys are actually extremely controversial. Sean DeBlack said that a streamer should die, Denim's TV offered $30,000 to kill someone, and also said it wasn't a big deal that CPS was called on Ethan's child because children don't form memories at the age of 3, which, by the way, is not true, and Frogan has a reputation. Ian tries to downplay Ethan's rage over the harassment when the harassment in question is CPS being called on him. This goes outside of some mean comments. This is real shit that has real consequences. And I know I'm being super biased with how I'm talking about this right now, but this was just stupid. iDubbbz tries to show his empathy at the end of the video where he gets a bunch of people to say something nice about Ian, and also includes a part of him crying to the psychologist like it's a therapy session, I guess to try and show his vulnerability too. The reception on this video was extremely negative because it was very unnecessary and honestly made iDubbbz look really, really bad. This wasn't really a Content Cop. If anything, was more close to an iDubbbz rants. It got way more dislikes than likes because really no one was on Ian's side here. It's wild how a bunch of washed up American YouTubers made the Israel-Palestine crisis about themselves. I started watching this and 18 minutes in I asked myself, why the fuck am I watching this? The segment of Ian crying was memed all over Twitter and it basically became the new Michael Jordan crying meme for a day. This video was basically a betrayal to Ethan, who was Ian's good friend. If you watch this Content Cop video, the situation seems extremely confusing, and that's because iDubbbz leaves out extremely important context, like how it all started because of the CPS call, which he deliberately leaves out.
My good friend Ian, in his hour-long takedown, did not mention one time Child Protective Services. Not one time. In the entire video, he never says CPS. No mention, no explanation, no overview, nothing. Zero mentions of CPS.
He tries to make it seem like this was over the Israel and Palestine situation, which wasn't really the cause of this entire argument. By posting this video, Ian pissed off both sides of his audience. He pissed off the older fans by posting this really long and non-articulate Content Cop episode. Many people, including me, were just really confused as to what was even going on at this point. And he also pissed off a bunch of his new fans because he essentially reversed any effort that he made to mature. This video was a complete step back from trying to prove prove to his fans that he got rid of the series to try and mature and grow, because now he was engaging with the drama when he did not need to. This hour-long video is the opposite of empathy. It's just gaslighting viewers. If he really meant all those nice things that he was talking about at the end of the video, then this whole thing would not have happened. He should have just stuck to keeping things private between him and Ethan instead of making this giant spectacle about it, or at least just condemn the CPS shit, which he did not do. The whole intention of this video was to try and revive whatever he had left of his channel, and what better way to do that than to go at one of the biggest people in the genre. This essentially was the final nail in the iDubbbz coffin, and the consequences of this really showed with the progression of Creator Clash 3. Even though the second one was a complete dumpster fire, Ian still felt confident enough to throw a third Creator Clash. Now, I'm not sure if the motivation for Content Cop was to promote the series in some type of way, because if that was the case, it did not work. Now, Haley from Epic Mealtime, who was the main event for this Creator Clash and was in the last two events, ditched out completely. He felt like the situation between him and Ethan was so politically motivated, he felt like he was kind of unintentionally taking a side by participating in this event. He just wanted to show up, throw some punches, and win some money for charity, which is fair. One of the creators on the fighting card, Lily, worked for the H3 podcast, so she dropped for obvious reasons. The venue that they booked for the event has 21,500 seats and many unsold tickets right now. And to make things worse, this event is happening on the same day as one of Jake Paul's boxing events. iDubbbz was so desperate for boxers that he even tried to get Ice Poseidon to be in the ring, even though he is extremely controversial.
I got invited to box iDubbbz in his event, his boxing event for Creator Clash, but I had to decline that because if I were to lose the iDubbbz, I would be extremely embarrassed.
He was even trying to get Tectone to join in, who was feuding with Frogan, which shows just how desperate he is.
So iDubbbz DM'd me, and he asked, "How much do you weigh?" So I think he's gonna try to get me in Creator Clash, which, by the way, before that comes out and before that gets invited, before I get invited to that, I'm not interested.
Since Harley was the main event and dropped out, people are entitled to a refund on their tickets. Now, at the time of recording this video, the event actually hasn't happened yet, so I'm not sure what the results are. But in reality, two things are going to happen. One, is going to be a financial failure like last time, and two, they're going to have to cancel the event because of the lack of tickets. Even when the situation was so bad, iDubbbz doubled down and dropped a Content Cop deputy on H3. He gets mad at H3 for making jokes about the Creator Clash charity event, claiming that he's going to sabotage it, when in reality iDubbbz was the one ruining his own event. He announced that he's leaving Creator Clash 3 entirely for obvious reasons, and he makes it seem like as if he's doing this giant favor. He tries to preach how he's not anti-Semitic, again trying to bring in a literal war to make it seem like he is a good guy. He tries to again downplay Ethan's outrage for CPS and getting mailed human skulls. He just straight up says in the video that he gives up on being empathetic to Ethan, like as if he was being super nice and friendly this entire time. He claims he didn't talk about the CPS call initially because Ethan mentioned it like way before he started crashing out on Ethan in that one podcast. So again, he's leaving a lot of things out of context here. He claims he has nothing to do with it, but again is not condemning it. And he defends a lot of the creators who quite literally supported Ethan's kids getting taken away. And he tries to end this video by claiming that all the people that are saying that the Content Cop got way more dislikes than likes are completely lying, but also shows no proof. He shows proof for other videos having a strong like to dislike ratio, but doesn't show proof for this one conveniently. The chances of all of the dislike extenders being inaccurate is pretty low, and it was a pretty desperate attempt to try and seem like the winner of the situation. The only thing that this video proved is that Ian is desperate and cannot take any type of criticism. Anytime he talked about having empathy or growing are completely discredited by what he is doing. And it really makes you think if the whole change he did years ago was really motivated by a genuine desire to change, or if it was motivated by adpocalypse. iDubbbz over and over again just keeps letting his fans down. He had the potential to be one of the biggest creators on this planet, but he let his number one enemy get in the way, himself. It was a good decision for iDubbbz to make the change to get away from edgy content, but it wasn't a good decision to slow down on the quality of the videos and then blame his fans for simply switching up on him because he changed. It's a good thing to change. All creators do it. I myself used to make edgy dark jokes on TikTok, and now I make hour-long slop videos, but you get the point. MrBeast used to post cringe compilations of the worst intros on YouTube and now is one of the most philanthropic creators on the planet. Filthy Frank used to make videos of himself eating hair cake. Now he has millions of people crying to his beautiful ballads. Change is good, but only when it's changed for the better. And with iDubbbz, it seemed like there was barely any change going on at all. You can't just claim that you're now empathetic and then drop an hour-long video going after your friend. You actually have to be empathetic and do the things that empathetic people do. Like not drop an hour-long video going after your friend. It's sad that iDubbbz, who is one of the biggest criticizers on the platform, now cannot take his own advice. Because if he did, maybe this video would have a better ending.